Hello. We lost half the crew. They keep joining and rejoining. Let's see what happens here. We're gonna get Steph. We're gonna get
Me
Chris.
out.
All right.
All right. Hey everyone. It's Friday. Chris, I'm gonna also send you a link in our chat here for us. That's your co-host link. I don't know if you got
Thank
that
you,
earlier
sir.
and you can accept that still, even after we went live, which is kind of awesome. Hey everybody. It's Friday. It's Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Perro, apparently not your dad today. Um, I am joined by my friends and colleagues, Dr. Stephanie Wilson, Freedom Over Fascism. We're
We're
playing
all gonna
roulette
just
with the
be blinking
screens.
in and out. It's like life.
Yes. Oh, hey, look, we're back in the original order again.
What
Um,
happened? That was
I man, I don't know. Hey, what's up,
wow.
everyone? So we've got Stephanie Wilson with me, Tara Devlin of Tara Buster and Political Voices Network. How's it going, Tara?
Nice to see you.
And Chris Goldsmith of On Offense and all of the background that helped build the Veterans Fighting Fascism and Task Force Butler that helped build the Anti-Fascist Book Club that we're doing today. So, hey, Chris, how's it going?
All right. I've got a new book to add to the reading list. It's not on the website yet, but
Oh, sweet.
To Catch a Fascist
Oh,
by
cool.
Christopher Matthias. It is everything that I've wanted every American to know for the last 5 years. It follows an infiltrator to Patriot Front and
Oh wow.
takes the history from it's a lot of history, but draws a direct line between Charlottesville and what's happening right now in Minneapolis. So, um, yeah,
Maybe our
plus
next book. Maybe we just slot that
All
in
right.
as next because we
I,
haven't
I,
decided what the
I
next
think
book is yet.
maybe, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just bought whatever. I'll read it anyway.
Okay, Chris, you'll have to send me the link or the name for the book because I'll totally forget it.
Yeah, I'll send
And that being said, hey y'all, it's the Anti-Fascist Book Club here on Banner and Backbone. We are finishing our series today on Strongmen by Ruth Ben Ghiat, from Mussolini to the present. Strongmen. If you have your own copy, it's worth following along. We've been reading for um, a while now. And yeah, so our next book will be To Catch a Fascist, will probably be our next book. Um, we'll see if we can all at least get copies before then, before next Friday. And we'll get our reading started there. But today we're finishing Strongmen. And the last two chapters, again, of this book are pretty timely, and of everything going on in the world. But before we jump in, Chris, can you remind everyone what the Anti Fascist Book Club is and what it isn't? Okay. Little man, go away, please.
Oh.
Thank you. Go out. Chris, you're
Uh-oh,
muted.
mute.
No, you. This is gonna
I've
be
been
a fun
working
tech
remotely
day.
This is a
since
very-
like 2015, so I have no excuses here. So the
Technical.
Anti-Fascist Book Club is an excuse to get organized. The goal is to help everyday Americans who aren't, crazy people who've been studying fascism for years better understand the problems that we face, because you need to understand a problem in order to solve it. So if you go to veteransfightingfascism.org, the big project of that nonprofit is to teach people how to set up their own anti-fascist book clubs. It's not just a book list. We provide instructions for chapter leaders or club leaders to get started, to organize their first few meetings, list out their first few books, engage in key parts of debate and question and answer about each of the first books. And the goal of the Anti-Fascist Book Club is that you don't need us after you're done with like your first 6 meetings or so. Our objective is to make it so that this is a decentralized anti-fascist network across the country, because focusing on fascism that's just in Washington, D.C. is not enough. You have to focus on the fascism that is in your local library, your school board, and all other local government, because that's where it has the greatest impact on your life and the life of your family and friends.
Awesome.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Chris. And so let's talk fascism. Let's talk strongmen, and let's talk the final two chapters of strongmen. So we are on chapters 9 and 10, I believe it is.
Resistance and endings. Yes.
Yeah, resistance and endings.
Hmm.
And these two chapters fit really, really, really well into some of the discussions I've been having around masculinity, or all the discussions I've been having around masculinity, because basically these chapters encapsulate what strongmen use for toxic masculinity to oppress everything else. And that's sort of what we're living through right now, is toxic masculinity as policy. And it looks like the SAVE Act and other things that waiting to disenfranchise voters who are not male and typically white or Christian, because they keep their last names. Men never change their names. Oppression comes in a lot of different forms, and Jim Crow re-exposes itself in modern ways. And I think these chapters are really timely for that, because of the discussion around masculinity and these like the national myths, and the hyper like sexualization of everything. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
That's a lot. I just think that where, this, like you're saying about the hyper masculine zeitgeist that we're having to endure now, it feels like we're backsliding in so many ways, that women have come so far. And then, of course, with the overturning of Roe, where, the future generations, or the current generation, doesn't have the same rights as their mothers had. And there's this whole trad wife, movement happening. And I just think that it's like this is a sign of the times that we're
Well,
mhm.
Tradwife goes even deeper too, with the soft girl stuff, which is for the
What's that?
kids.
I
It's
never heard of that.
Tradwife stuff focused at children.
Oh, that's
Oh
awful.
no,
Yeah, you should look into it. It's
soft
part of,
girl. Well,
yeah,
this is what
soft
I'm
girl.
talking about. It's like
Soft
this.
girls and Tradwives.
It's very insidious the way it seeps into the culture. And then you had just mentioned the SAVE Act, and the Republicans are pushing this voter law that will disenfranchise women who change their names after they get married. And if your name isn't the same as it was on your birth certificate. And they're not promoting it like that. They're talking about how, well, who doesn't love voter ID? That seems rational. Voter ID is somehow something that we can all get behind, but that's not what it's about. So it's the same thing what we're talking here, like all these movements, all of these insidious little creeping backwards that get into, that's, people say, like, for example, I have a friend that, Republicans are trying to roll back child labor laws, and they've been very successful in certain states. And a friend of mine was like, well, what's so bad about that? He's a Democrat too. And teach kids responsibility, personal responsibility. Well, isn't that wonderful? It's like, who can't get behind teaching kids responsibility? But that's not what it's about, because it's not going to be the kids of the rich that get, that have to go work in slaughterhouses. It's going to be the poor, and it also reduces, it floods the labor pool, and and this is, it makes adults have to compete with children for wages. And then they get away with, one of the Republicans was pushing, paying them a training wage. And so they're not even paying them a living wage. So, it really is a testament to how we've lost the narrative in a lot of ways. So, and that we have to get it back, because the Republicans and the fascists are winning, it seems to me, the messaging game right now, especially with when you have women and young girls who are, buying into this bullshit. Yeah, this is wonderful. I want to, I want a man to take care of me and all that. Well, isn't that great? But if that's your choice, okay, but that doesn't have to mean you make the choice for every other woman, and then they start codifying it into law. And history is not linear. Just because we have the right to have a credit card without a husband or a father's signature right now doesn't mean that we can't go backwards. And anyway, I'm having trouble with my audio. I hate to admit it. It's not working too well for me. So
It sounds fine on us.
okay.
At least to us.
Okay.
At least to me, it does.
Just saying it because we were having, this is like a tech from hell day.
Yeah,
So.
but the whole trad wife and like soft girl stuff is really, really insidious. Is you said a keyword. It's really insidious because it's not something that's like on its face dangerous sounding. In terms of like trad wife on its face, when they promote it culturally, was not dangerous sounding. It was just, hey, I like wearing these old style dresses. I enjoy cooking. I'm gonna promote myself just as an individual. And then it became, here's also all my religious stuff that comes with it, and here's all my trauma dumping that's coming with it. And like my family lived through that in some ways, not on purpose. And like having friends who were very Mormon during COVID, like that was our friends group, was 3 Mormon families. You get to see what that looks like kind of on the inside of those who are Mormon, but aren't like the hyper Mormon on the outside where they go around and they walk door to door to door to door, but are Mormon enough that like their views on certain things, like sexual orientation or friends group, how wide it can be and who can be included in that friends group. They introduced us to that trad mentality and like that trad style more naturally and more at home than say online. And it's it teaches your girls some really bad habits, like really dangerous things.
I think it's actually genius because it's talking about politics without mentioning politics at all. And we haven't figured that piece out. And I mean, sometimes like Andor is doing the same thing, but it's not the same as like getting into your home. I'm just reading up on the soft girl. Soft girl aesthetics is a Gen Z TikTok popularized subculture circa 2019 that embraces a hyper feminine, cutesy, and tender persona, heavily featuring pastel colors, 90s or Y2K fashion, and dramatic makeup. It prioritizes self-care, emotional well-being, and a relaxed, slow-living lifestyle over the hustle-driven girl boss culture.
Oh, fuck that.
Popularized by influencers like Ariana Grande. Really? It emphasizes vulnerability and joy.
Joy.
Really? Ariana Grande, though?
Right.
Anyway. So that's like so insidious.
Yes, because fascism in its core is just like conservatism. Really, it's a hierarchical ideology. Everyone in their place, and then we'll have utopia, of course, with the the strongman authoritarian daddy at the top, and everyone has their role in a fascist and if you're in a fascist system. But if you're a member of if you're not a member of a targeted minority group, you might do pretty well in a fascist state. And that's what these underwhelming men who are getting their identity. When I keep thinking about that, what's his name, Nick Fuentes, and like all these other losers like Andrew Tate, like these people like that, they seem to me like very weak and fragile men, or men, boys, not even men, really. I mean, it's an insult to call them men. And they're not strong. They're bullies. They're weak. They're fragile. They're scared. That's what it seems to me when I see that. That's what I read. Not, oh wow, this is a master of the universe. This is somebody who is trying too hard to overcome what they're not. And especially with Trump too. He's the same thing. He's the same. I mean, he was born on third base, thinking he hit a triple. I mean, even just that disgusting meme that he posted yesterday with the Obamas as monkeys says it all, because he is not fit to lick the Obamas taint. That is for sure. These people are they are the personification of the American dream that built themselves up on their own talent and intelligence, and became the president in this racist ass country, and putting up with traitor Trump, this horrible monster who sucked at business, who's a serial bankrupt con man, Putin bitch, and bankrupted everything he touched. He and was bad at multi-level marketing, vitamin scams. I mean, he's just like a loser. And to do that, to say, because what he's saying is, Obama's, get in your place. You are subhuman. You're not in the list of the hierarchical order. You're beneath, regardless of who you are and what your talent is. And that's supposed to be. I mean, this country is supposed to be the antithesis of that, right? We're supposed. Oh, what about a meritocracy? Of course, I know that's all bullshit. But this ultra nationalistic, this white grievance politics now, I mean, it's all fits perfectly into the fascist project, because that's what else do they have? The grand experiment in liberal democracy is the antithesis of what they're trying to inflict on us. And we really have to keep calling it out, because they are trying to steal the midterms. We see it in plain sight. So if they're successful, we're in big trouble. That's for sure, I think.
Chris?
Well, let's start with them stealing the midterms. This is something that I feel like was taboo to say a year ago. But I think that finally elected Democrats with significant influence and experience are actually saying it out loud now. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, he's the co-chair of the Intelligence Committee. I'm pretty sure Senate Senate Committee on Intelligence doesn't have a chair and a ranking member. I think it's chair and co-chair. He has been talking openly about how it appears that Trump is going to be trying to put in position ICE to intimidate voters as elections come up, and that's not just November. That's primaries. So the Democrats this week came out with a list of 10 demands. These are the 10 things that need to be done, need to be in legislation in order for them to agree to continue funding DHS. And among them are things like removing masks, having to identify themselves, wearing identifying information, so that individual agents, when they're caught doing something like murdering someone, they are instantly identifiable. And we don't have to play these games where we have to, have to be investigative researchers to figure out who did it. But there's nothing in there that says ICE should not be allowed near polling stations, or ICE should not be allowed to use, or should not be on the fucking street anytime near election,
or 100 feet from an election, like they do with being able to politic.
Yeah. And I think that I'm glad that elected Democrats are moving in the right direction and starting to take this seriously after we saw
let's see
2 Americans get murdered. But they're not anticipating the threats in the future. They're only dealing with with the threats we've already seen, and that is not sufficient. And
they're on defense, not on offense.
Always, though, right? Doesn't it seem that way? Always.
Well, it seems like they have this list, but I don't trust them to actually fight for it. I mean, the track record says they'll get to the, whatever it is, 10-yard line and go, why don't you just take it?
We came up with a deal, compromise.
Right. And I think, everybody here on Substack is screaming about it, but I think there's such a big disconnect between the Democrats, the federally elected Democrats, and the grassroots, and also most of the state people are, I think, separated from the Washington people. And I think they view us as sort of like, almost like pat the grassroots on the head and yeah, you're cute, and yeah, you'll vote, but mostly you don't matter. And yet it seems like we can't count on them to kind of stick to any position.
Yeah. So Gort Frog in the comments is asking why state and local police are not arresting ICE officers for assaulting citizens. I think that's a very good point. And I had the opportunity to speak with Mayor Fry not long ago of Minneapolis, and I addressed this with him directly. And I said, my background, my specialty is locking up neo-Nazis, using existing laws to simply just tell law enforcement and elected officials, this is already the law. All you need to do is apply it, right? That is, it's not special. It's reading comprehension. So I addressed this directly with Mayor Fry and said, listen, Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, has its own anti-KKK act, like many states around the country do, that ban masks in public. Now, case law had, during 2020, all the Republicans and all the MAGA came out and sued and said you're infringing on our rights, making us wear masks for COVID. This law that's on the books is unconstitutional. These laws did not get struck down. The case law said, okay, well, there's clearly there's a medical need, there's a societal and health need, so these laws can stay in place. So Minnesota simply just needs to ask its state and local law enforcement to enforce the law. Now, Mayor Fry's reaction is what I would expect. He said, well, I don't want to put my officers in a situation where they're outgunned by the feds, because they would be outgunned by the feds. There's 600 Minneapolis police officers, and there's 5 times as many, 3,000 armed ICE officials on the streets of Minneapolis, willing to pull their guns on anybody. And they seem more than happy to shoot. But I do think that someone needs to force the issue. There needs to be a brave mayor, a brave governor, a brave police chief, a brave individual officer who just doesn't need to take orders from up top, just applies the law that exists on the books.
But Chris, though, isn't there the supremacy clause of the Constitution that will supersede federal law is superior? So all they have to say is that the ICE agent was acting reasonably within their federal duties.
It's a court battle worth having. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
saying that
agree.
they should get in a
I
shootout.
agree. They should they should do it. I think they should just do it and force the issue and just do it as a sign of we're not going to take this shit anymore.
I mean, the intention of the KKK acts were, and they all have various names, but these anti-KKK acts were to unmask the KKK, because when they have masks on, fascists are willing to break the law, but as soon as you take the masks off, they are far less brave.
Of course,
Making it, forcing them to identify themselves is an essential component of safety. And I think that states attorneys general, or whoever ends up having to defend the state's law in a federal court, which is where I think it would go, I think they can make an affirmative case that the intention of all of these anti-KKK acts was to stop people from from having their civil rights violated. ICE has not been acting. They are acting under color of law, but they are not acting within the law. Therefore, their wearing of masks does not grant them coverage to randomly assault people, to destroy
and murder people,
property, to violate the Fourth Amendment. So I do think that, especially in a place like Minneapolis, or potentially soon in Springfield, Ohio, I think that those mayors, those police chiefs, those individual officers, I do think that they would have a decent chance of winning in court if they were to force the issue.
But part of the problem is, so I've been learning more about what's going on in Massachusetts, which is low key, but like there's a lot going on here, just not big like Minneapolis. And what's happening, even though there are laws not allowing ICE to be in non-public spaces and state buildings, all sorts of things, the local sheriffs are, people are getting released from detention, from federal detention, released, and then local sheriffs are like picking them up and taking them away and giving them to ICE. So to depend on the goodwill of local sheriffs or police officers is also an iffy proposition.
It depends. Yeah. And then
it's worth pressing though.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely. It's
in the end, it doesn't it's worth pressing that issue, and it has to be pressed because laws don't enforce themselves. And if our elected officials are unwilling to uphold the law, who do we turn to? Which is ourselves to do it. And so we force the elected, we try and force our elected officials to do it. We get sheriffs are elected officials. Like, if you don't like your sheriff in the end and they don't end, say, the 287G agreements, or your local police chiefs that are elected officials as well, anyone who's in elected office who says maybe has a 287G agreement with ICE to do immigration enforcement through the police force, is vote them out, is have someone run against them and make a great case and vote them out and force the issue. Because if they're not going to do the job to protect the community, make it known that they're not doing it. Make it known that we have to be willing to shame them publicly about it. Like, we've gotten so used to, we can't hurt their feelings, or we can't say mean things about people on the right because they'll
fuck that,
whine and cry about it. Like, I've been talking about yesterday. I said on one of the shows, like, and if anyone wants to help me, I'll buy a bunch of billboards and put a billboard out in Rogers and Bentonville, Arkansas, and the entirety of Steve Womack's district, saying Steve Womack is a pedophile protector, or is Steve Womack is protecting pedophiles. Like, I'll put one, like, if people want to donate to, if we want to do that, like community crowdsourcing, things like that.
Yeah, shame them.
You shame the shit out of somebody publicly in their hometowns.
Yep.
They'll start changing their mind, because people know them.
Exactly.
Because their neighbors will come up to them and go, why is there a billboard that says you're protecting pedophiles?
Yeah, you're being
Someone
embarrassed.
will ask them that.
Right. But as Melissa said in one of her lives, for a lot of white Christian nationalists, it's not actually a deal breaker.
Right, clearly.
Because it's so enmeshed in.
Yeah, but I'd rather they out themselves that way then.
Yeah.
Like,
more proof.
Out yourself as a bad person. That makes it easier for the rest of us to then shame you. Like, go to the all-white community
Well,
that
they're
you want to
irredeemable.
in
Yeah.
Arkansas or Missouri. Go to those. Like, I encourage you, if you're a white supremacist, go to the all-white community, because then you've outed yourself and we don't have to find you. You're already there. Like, good for you. You put yourself in your own cage. Thank you. I didn't have to do it. You did it. That's your fault. And we should be making them a we problem. Oh yeah, actually, this is a good segue into that to fight some of this stuff, because there's like, how do we get about locally organizing for voting? Is Qasim Rashid talked yesterday about a site called sway.co, which is a voting like summary page site that like helps you find who all your candidates are. And it helps, I think, set up groups on how to do like voter drives and like push the issue and be a partisan for your issues. And I want to get your folks' thoughts on like those types of things to help create local community pushback that actually makes a difference against some of these issues.
What do you mean?
So the book that I mentioned earlier, To Catch a Fascist by Christopher Mathias, that is the central thesis of the book, is militant anti-fascism is imposing costs on the fascists where they live.
Right.
You know, imposing costs in relationships with, you know, personal relationships, whether it's love interests or family or employment, making it difficult and expensive to be a fascist. And that's not infringing on someone's First Amendment right? Citizens don't infringe on other citizens' First Amendment rights. That's not what the First Amendment is for. The imposition of legal, social, and economic costs using societal norms is essential to maintaining good behavior. It's essential to keeping the Overton window in a healthy place, rather than allowing the extremists to push it to the extreme without everyone else responding in kind.
Well, that's what for example, when Caroline Leavitt goes out to dinner and she's met with protesters or people saying, get the fuck out. Like, I'm not cooking for you. So, and they all get upset as if they're just supposed to go about their daily lives in a society that they're trying to destroy and get served by people that they're trying to harm. And we're all just supposed to turn a blind eye. I think we have a patriotic duty to shame them, name them, and shame them. And but they're very fragile, and they're very very soft when it comes to things like that. They just want to be left alone while they're assaulting everybody. But I do worry a little bit about the optics in a way, because they're very good at twisting the message. So we have to be, I believe, very I don't even want to say that word strong, because that's what I hear, that fucking baboon in my head, because everything is strong with him, very strong vote, very strong signature I put. But yeah, no, I'm just saying that we have to really define what fascism is. So otherwise it's going to lose all meaning, the way that they have labeled Democrats commies. We're commies. They call us fascists too. What's the meaning of words? This is part of the authoritarian playbook, of the strongman playbook. There's no what's words? What are words? What's truth? So yeah, you're a fascist, you're a communist. We hear that baboon Trader Trump say that all the time. Yeah, they're fascists, they're commies, they're socialists, they're this, they're that. There's no meaning to words. So yeah, what is a fascist when we're talking about this? And let's lay it out. How this is not democracy. You have this. We really have to be very I think strong in defining what we're up against. I don't know. What do you guys think? about that. Or not, maybe not.
Sorry, I'm enthralled by someone on our YouTube chat. I don't know who they are, or just they're on a
Uh-oh.
paired chat, and they're telling us to go back to Germany. Us
Oh,
pricks.
what do you mean? Like we're fascists? This is what I'm talking
Yes,
about. Yeah.
because we're apparently saying that we are trying to dictate how other people live. I don't give a fuck how you live, as long as it's not hurting children or other people. Like if you're specifically hurting children, I do give a fuck how you live,
Mhm.
because that's not
See,
okay.
yeah.
But if you're not hurting other people, if your ideologies don't hurt other people, I don't give a fuck how you live. But if your ideology is to hurt other people, then it gives me a problem. Then it is a problem, because you've made a you problem into a me problem. And when it becomes a me problem, I will respond to it. And
Hmm.
that's what Christian nationalism is.
Yeah, that's what they're
It's
doing.
all of the hyper aggression put into one thing and then just spewed at the rest of us because you have no emotional intelligence yourself.
Right. Well, it's like, if you don't believe in gay marriage, let's say, or
So don't
marriage,
get
it's really
married.
illegal. Yeah, don't have a gay marriage, right? Like it's a legal contract with somebody who has the same pee-pee as you do. They're very focused on the pee-pee. That's what they should call themselves. Forget focus on the family, focus on the pee-pee. That's what it's about. And so, if you don't want to have a gay marriage, don't have a gay marriage. That's what we're talking about. That's freedom. You get the freedom to live your authentic life. If you want to be a trad wife, go be a fucking trad wife. Nobody cares. You just don't get to inflict that on the entire society. That's what freedom is, you know. So how we're the fascists. This is what I'm talking about. It's I know you are, but what am I? That's the Republican. Really, that should be their mantra. That and their forget the party of personal responsibility. Forget that. I mean, they only take responsibility when they're trying to they only stick to that motto, I should say, when they're trying to deny people health care. But when it comes to taking responsibility for all their abhorrent policies that are fascist, right, then forget it. So yeah.
See, I keep on my shelf my economics 101 micro and macro textbooks, because
Still have those.
that was the most revelatory class that I had ever taken. That I think micro and macro economics, because of the teacher that I had more than anything, helped me to learn to think critically
Mm.
at a time in my life. I think I started college when I was 25 or 26, at a time in my life when I didn't know what critical thinking is. And as I see the troll in the comments doing this, I know you are, but what am I thing? I do think that this person is sincere when they're like, you guys are the fascists. You guys are trying to tell people how to live, because they don't understand the concept of things like negative externalities. They don't understand the concept and what a negative externality is, in the way that my teacher instilled on me was like, if you have a coal plant next door and you need electric, you need that coal plant. Like it has to exist, right? But if they've just got a smokestack that is just dumping toxic fumes onto your home, that coal plant needs to compensate you, because they are imposing a cost on your life. Now the coal plant will be like, well, we can't operate. We can't give you your electric unless we spew toxic stuff onto your home. But that's not the truth. There are mitigations that you can take, right? So all that we are asking of fascists is to just stop acting in a way that harms other people. You can do and think whatever you want, but your freedom to swing your fist stops at the tip of my nose. As soon as you hit the tip of my nose, that's no longer freedom. Now you're imposing on me, and it is my right and my duty to defend myself and to cause you, to provide you disincentivizing behaviors, which I define as legal, social, and economic costs to disincentivize that continued behavior.
That's why I think, because it's not something that Democrats ever do, or people who are more progressive tend to do, is that's why I think the billboard thing would have an impact, because it's public shaming where I don't have to be the one saying the word. My face isn't on there, but somebody who knows him is going to read that and ask. There's a very big difference about I voted to say, like, Steve Womack. I'm going to keep using Steve Womack because he sucks. Steve Womack didn't vote to release the Epstein files because he was not there. So he is not on record as having voted to release or not release the Epstein files. He's one of the few Republicans that wasn't there. He wasn't there because of a medical thing in his family, and that's fine. Like, he had a legitimate reason for not being there, not holding it against him. His staff had said that he would have voted to release. I believe them because every other fucking Republican except one did. And that being said, he has not done anything to ensure that the Trump administration follows the letter of the law since then, which means he is participating in the cover-up of the Epstein files, because legally they needed to release all of it in December, not in batches and droves. All of it was the deadline for the release, not the start date of the release. That was the deadline, the legal deadline, and they have been in violation of a brand new congressional law that was approved by everyone except one member and signed into law by the president with no
Well, because he
complaint.
knew that they were going to.
No, I understand.
I mean, well, that's
but
the whole.
It's on us now, because if you're not actively fighting against white supremacy, or actively breaking down patriarchy, or actively anti-racist, or actively anti-fascist, you're on their side right now. Because your inability to act furthers their ability to go forward. And it hinders us. You're in the way.
Well,
so I think doing the things like the public shaming gets people off the sideline. The public, they're not expecting billboards.
No.
They're not expecting billboards in Missouri, in Arkansas. Like, Fred Wellman has a campaign in Missouri. If Ann Wagner just started having billboards come up that said Ann Wagner is protecting pedophiles, I bet you Ann Wagner would get some phone calls back home from people. Like,
well, they're
you put that shit up in St. Louis, that's a heavy traffic area. Hundreds of thousands of people see that billboard, and they get to go, is my congressional member protecting a pedophile? I didn't realize that. That's all you have to do. Change people's mind.
Yes, and we need to remind everyone that the excuse for not releasing the Epstein files was that they were redacting the names of the victims, which they did not.
They had a deadline which they were supposed to meet.
I know,
and
but they
don't get to use that excuse.
They released this is what's so disgusting. They released the Epstein files, whatever the ones so far, with the perpetrators' names redacted and the victims' names and photographs, some of whom were nude as children in these photographs. Disgusting. They released them unredacted. So these women now, girls at the time, are being harassed by the disgusting maggots out there because their names were not redacted. I mean, they're just being re-traumatized and abused by this filthy fascist Republican Party. It's absolutely disgusting. And that's why when the baboon released that picture of the Obamas, and where's the Republican Party? I know. Oh, Tim Scott said, this better not be real. Oh, what a strong statement. But they will continue to support this horrible, abhorrent waste of human DNA that has no business being anywhere near the halls of power.
That's because they're complicit.
Yep.
That's because so many of them are in those files.
Right.
And participated in all of that. I mean, one of the things that's so shocking to me is how wide, first of all, how long this has gone on.
Yeah.
and then how wide it is. So anybody who, so that, I mean, it's an operation. It's a foreign influence operation, right?
Mhm.
And it started long time ago, and it's brilliant. You know, it's a honeypot operation, right? You lure people in by
Mhm.
sex, they do
Mhm.
it, and then you have blackmail, and then they don't stop you later on because you'll expose them.
Right.
And I'm sure not every male politician was involved in that, but a whole bunch of them were.
Yeah.
And
It's
you know,
crazy.
the oligarchs, and you know, when you're moving that much money and you're moving that many people and you're providing space which feels uh like it's protected from reality to do taboo, illegal, horrible things, that then that happens. They do them.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. Like I think that's the center of a lot of what's going on right now, is that the Republicans aren't standing up to Trump because plenty of them
Yep.
are implicated.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, Lindsey Graham's in there. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah. Oh my God. And Mike Johnson, I don't know if he's in there, but he's just, they're all disgusting. I mean, they all claim to love Jesus, but, this is the thing when reading, even like that woman, what's her name? Besant's, wife, who wrote a email to Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, I'm coming over. Can we come to the island? I have 7 children with me, ages 7 to 14, 5 boys, 2 girls. This is 5 years after he's a convicted pedo. And what woman, what mother would bring her her children and other people's children that she has in her charge to a convicted pedophile's lunch? Yeah, I mean, but it goes to show you, this is what I think, that they don't consider us human beings. That's what it is. They live in a whole other sphere of reality. And that's why they don't care if he's a pedo. He's just abusing, like, it's like Ghislaine Maxwell said, they are trash. When one of her friends said, "What are you doing? Procuring girls for this pedo?" And she said, "What do you mean? They are trash. They're trash. So they don't count. They're not human." And that's how they look at us. Anyone not born on third base, thinking they hit a triple, whatever, that's why they need to be removed from power. That's for sure. And I have to, every time like I see things like this, I'm like, how much longer are we going to put up with this shit? Really, how much longer are we going to take it? It's really, at some point it becomes about us too. And all over the world,
Well,
people are watching this and saying, like, why can't we remove this monster? I don't know.
well, I think building that into like what Ruth Ben-Gia talks about in Strongmen itself in terms of like resistance is the mass decentralized setups that we're trying to do, and how we're not all trying to force ourselves into one group individually. Like we're networks of different groups that cross pollinate with each other, and so we stay independent and diverse and on message pretty well. Like, I don't know if most of y'all have noticed, but like everyone in this Substack, everyone like around this Substack pretty well has a lot of similar messaging. Like, we come out really strong in similar messaging. Yeah, we have differences of opinions on things, and we bicker back and forth, and we have disagreements. But overall, like when things happen, there's no one person in our group that says, "Oh, this is the only message," or "This is the message that has to be pushed." We all just sort of migrate to it because it's the right one. because truth has the way of revealing itself if you just look at it.
Mhm.
And we all just go, oh, let's take a step in and analyze this real quick. And then we push a message out organically. And I think we're doing that really well in a lot of decentralized but cross-pollinated ways. And I think that's what one of the key learnings from this chapter I get is like, we have to be organized and we have to have our parallel systems, but we cannot have them all in one place.
Yeah.
Because we cannot have a central leader, because that still is the same system that we're fighting against. Like, we don't really need one leader.
Mhm.
It's also
Well,
why
no. Mhm.
historically, like, the founders feared the executive, is because they didn't want to fall under one leader. They wanted Congress to make most of the decisions and the executive to do, here's a couple things you're in charge of. You do that. You're more like a prime minister with some military power. Like, that's what you get to do. But we approve everything that you do.
Right.
And we've flipped that system.
Mhm.
And so our fight is the decentralization back into a more parliamentarian system, and getting away from we are doing it. And I think again, I think it's all about targeted messaging that we're getting, and doing these hyper local things that we haven't been doing. Like, we haven't been trying recently. We haven't been trying like pamphlets that go out, mass mailing pamphlets and like flyers that are, I mean, we do them on the Democratic Party side, but it's always asking for money. It's never like,
Yeah,
hey,
but that has like totally poisoned the well, I think, those money scams. So I feel like people dismiss them because, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep talking about. I just, we're almost at the end, and the last chapter is basically these guys they always come to an end.
Mhm.
They always come to a bad end. And I think, we need to remember that it might be a bad end for the grandkid of the first fascist, but it will end at some point. And not because it'll end organically. It'll end when we fight it enough that public opinion and power is on our side. But they all had, whether they killed themselves or got killed or got hanged or found in a pipe or, they came to an end. And I think that's an end.
I hope we find him in a hole. Oh, please. That'd be amazing.
Well, that's what he's building right now. But
I think continue, like, as we keep these messages going in the way that we're focusing with each other in these decentralized systems that are working, is I think we can bring it to my hope is we can bring it to an end before it gets to the point where it is grandchildren, because I'd like to, I'm pretty sure all of us here know this, is we'd like to not live in fascism for the rest of our lives.
No.
That is not the plan for my life. Like,
we don't want our kids to have that kind of future, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I think this continued, like,
oh, what the hell?
Bye,
See,
bye,
that
Nick.
happened to me too. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I'm not enough. Oh wait, you're back.
I'm back.
That's exactly what happened to me. All of a sudden, it was like, boom, I'm gone. Weird. Oh, there he goes again.
Okay, somebody said the dictators are still going in China, Russia, North Korea. Does it always come to an end?
Yeah.
Well, you also have to remember, we have never had a dictator in the United States. Our system was not founded through a monarchy previously, or a dictatorship or something like that previously. So we don't have the same. We don't have. I mean, we kind of do in some ways. We broke away from a dictatorship,
but
or a monarchy.
No
but
American has
on it.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
American has a knowledge of that. Unlike
Yeah.
in the Weimar Republic and other, and
That's why I think,
In Russia, in current, when Putin took power, there was a knowledge that people already, and it wasn't a historical. They had firsthand experience with living under an authoritarian, and we don't have that.
yeah,
Our tradition has been to overthrow a king, but I look to what happened in Poland, because they were successful in pushing back their authoritarian takeover, and they were living under authoritarianism from 2015, and they recently restored the rule of law, and it came from democracy. They one of the things was that we have in common with that is that they had people like us that pushed back against the regime that they were able to have social media shows and platforms and influencers to speak the truth to power. And they also had a coalition of different groups, like you were just talking about, that came together and stopped bickering with each other and focused on the task at hand to get rid of the authoritarian. So the same thing happened. They combined, they went after women, abortion, LGBTQ plus, press freedom, the courts, independent institutions. I mean, the same. It's always the same playbook. So, but yeah, and they did it with all of that, with freedom of speech and mobilizing strikes and like we're doing with No Kings and the general strike in Minneapolis. We should have a national general strike. Really, that's.
and I think too, I've said this a couple times before too, is come take an American's right to vote away now that they've been given it. That's going to cause a really big mess. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know a single person who's like read anything about the SAVE Act who's really stopped talking about it at this point. Like, it is to prevent anyone who
Mhm.
has changed their name in their lifetime from their birth name from being able to vote.
Yeah.
Like, they
Unless you
want it
have a
so that,
passport in the new
yeah,
name.
yeah, and you have to have all this other documentation to make sure it's literally poll, like it's the old school poll tax and poll docs
Right.
and like slave patrols, and that's what ICE is. Their slave
Oh, yeah.
patrols
Uh-huh.
is modern day versions, or the KKK members just walking down the streets with guns, and the Proud Boys. It's all the same thing. They're just now in different masks and different hoods. But the SAVE Act is like, to me, is the thing that is going to escalate the tensions the most in America at this point.
Mhm.
Because I don't know a single person who's going to shut up if you say, hey, women, you can't vote anymore. I sure as hell know that my wife is going to be mad as fuck more than I am. Like, I'm mad about it. Like, I'm not externally showing it right now, but like, take an American's right to vote away, because that is the one thing we, at least white Americans specifically,
Mhm.
have always had, especially men. And there are a lot of white men who'd be impacted by that.
Mm.
There's a lot of white men who feel the impacts of that. The troll earlier asked for an example of how does it impact me? How'd you make a me problem, you problem, a me
Oh,
problem?
shut the fuck up. I
Is
hate.
you
Oh,
turned is
God.
you turned voting into a me problem. I
Is
don't
it?
want to manage my wife's vote. I don't want to be responsible for managing my wife's vote. I don't want to be responsible for managing my daughter's vote. I want them to have the management and the accountability and the consequences that come with voting themselves, because that's their fucking right. Because I have that right and it's guaranteed to me, which means everybody else should have it too. So come take my wife's and every other woman or trans person or gay person who's changed their name, or non-binary person who's changed their name, or what have you. Come try and take their right to vote away, because that's the one thing Americans have never stood to take away.
Mhm.
We've given it, but we've never taken it away.
Mm.
This would be a first. We've given it, like, it started small and we've expanded that pool.
Mm.
Good luck taking it away.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's why Ruth Ben-Ghiat actually says that she does have hope for the country, that we will overcome this authoritarian takeover. But
Well, Tim Snyder does too, and so does Heather Cox Richardson. But I also think that that's because the regime hasn't consolidated its power completely yet. So there's still room for maneuver and for opposition, which means we need to keep moving and keep moving quickly.
Right. There's a good chance too that the Democrats might actually become the majority party in the House before the midterms too. I mean, they have such a slim minority. The Republicans do as well. So that's what they're afraid of too. If just a few more things happen, and it could happen. So that would be a beautiful day. So
yeah, and I think with that, that's a perfect place to transition to, we're right at the top of the hour. We had a great conversation today to finish out our book, I think, on Strongmen by Ruth Ben-Ghiat. Next week, we are going to be starting To Catch a Fascist by Christopher Mathis. And I bought my copy of the book while we were on the show.
Me too. I did too.
As did
From
I.
the link that Chris gave us, I will make sure I drop that link to everyone in the post show notes. You can actually buy it directly, and you don't have to go through one of the middlemen of money. So you don't have to pay Amazon or Walmart or someone like that. You can go right to the publisher and buy it there. And so let's promote ourselves and the work that we do. Oh my God, this thing's changing screens even more. Let's promote ourselves and the work we do and where people can find us. And Chris, I'll start with you, my friend.
So if you are not already subscribed to On Offense on Substack or wherever you get your podcasts, next Wednesday, I will be dropping an episode with Christopher Matthias, the author of To Catch a Fascist.
Oh, nice.
It's an hour plus long interview, and I have to admit that I was perhaps a little bleary-eyed and brain scrambled because I almost read the entire book overnight. If you weren't here for the beginning, I'm going to say it again. It contains virtually everything that I have wanted every American to know from my experience infiltrating extremist organizations over the last 5 years. It follows a main character who infiltrated Patriot Front as a member who rose up through the ranks over the course of a few months, which resulted in the most devastating breach of their systems, which Task Force Butler then used to write up a report to gather evidence of criminality, which resulted in over $3 million in liabilities, lawsuits against Patriot Front. So it is.
Oh my God! What the
Right
mother?
at the right time.
Jeez!
Everyone, follow Chris. There you go.
And
he's back.
I'm back. So if just go to whatever your favorite podcast app is, I don't care what it is, subscribe to On Offense. Wednesday, you'll get it, or go to Substack On Offense, which I think is what the QR code will bring you to. You'll get this interview. It'll be a good primer for the next few weeks of the Anti-Fascist Book Club meetings.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. And I'm excited for that episode. Tara, how about you?
Me? Oh my God. Yeah. Subscribe to my Substack. I don't know. Please subscribe to my Substack. And
somebody's at the QR code.
Oh, nice. And tonight we have a show, 8:30 p.m. So follow my Substack and YouTube and the Political Voices Network. And I'll see you later. Michael said, I'll see you tonight, Tara. So I'll see you, Michael. I'm taking attendance. So make sure you check it out at 8:30. And we always have a nice time. What's nice? I mean, we have fun. We have a good time, and we don't hold back. And the Republicans, we give them a nice case of red ass that they need. And yeah, so join us. It's fun. We have a good time.
Thanks,
All right.
Tara.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
most definitely. And please, second, we got 2 QR scans.
Come
Look at that.
on. See ya. See you later.
Next, Steph.
So I am the host of Freedom Over Fascism, have fireside chats, lives on Tuesday and Wednesday, which you can later get on any podcast app of your choice. It's been going for 3 years. This next week is my 3-year anniversary. And I talk to folks that can help understand the context of where we are, understand the information war, understand how to organize and where to organize. And I would really appreciate your free or paid subscription. So you can find me on Substack, freedomoverfascism.us, which will take you to my Substack page, on YouTube, LinkedIn, and on all the podcast platforms. So
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Find me
Thank you,
everywhere.
Steph. Thank you, Dr. Stephanie. Appreciate you. We're going to fight the patriarchy and make sure Steph gets her title.
That's right.
It's a long
then
time ago that title came.
And then come find me on Sick of This Shit Publications. That's my other home. I do chronic illness discussions, masculinity. I fight down and break the patriarchy. And I do interviews with other men around masculinity, what their experiences are, and how we can create a new manosphere and a new just intelligent masculinity and new masculinity that doesn't suck. And isn't toxic and harmful to other people. So come join me on Sick of This Shit Publications for that. And then finally come support Banner and Backbone, the network. We're building strong. We've got some really cool new tools that we put out and starting to put out. We're working on some really fun stuff for the contributor side to help make the lives easier for our friends and for anyone in the community who wants to become a contributor and do things in a more in a free and tool like easy automated way that you don't have to pay for, that isn't owned by like massive billionaires. In turn, like we want to give people tools and access, and we're building a great coalition of friends who are helping us get there. And you are all part of this. You're a huge piece of this. So come join us here at Banner and Backbone. Come check our new website out, broadbanner.com, for the network calendar and affiliate cards. You'll see some familiar faces show up on the affiliate cards, and they will have links to your favorite creators and their channels and those who are associated. And we're going to be working on adding and making sure we've got everyone in there, all their links. And then there's going to be additional community tools coming in the future. So thanks everyone. Thanks for being here with us for the Anti-Fascist Book Club as we close out Strongmen by Ruth Ben-Ghiat. Next week again is To Catch a Fascist, where we start with Christopher Mathis. This is going to be really fun. Looking forward to that discussion. And again, thanks everyone for being with us. We'll see